welcome back to another session. My name is Aarshpreet and today we're going to continue talking about the first chapter for class 10, that's development. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the last video in which we talked about the difference between growth and development. Both the terms seem to be more or less the same, but they differ. When we talk about the technical aspect, there's a lot of difference when I talk about development and also when I talk about growth. If you guys like this video, so let's continue. Like that video, probably let's hope you get something out of this video too. So I'm going to talk about development in this class and what does development really stand for different people in different aspects. Let's continue talking. Before we step into this chapter and discuss the main aspects, I really want to bring it to your notice that how many of you think that economic development, that is, economic basically means if you talk about the monetary terms, if we compare anything in monetary terms, do you really think we can probably picturize the correct figures and look into the matter of which country is doing great and which country is not? So economic development, though it can be measured using income, but don't you think is income the only aspect which needs to be considered when we talk about development? Can income or money buy everything? Can income get you freedom? Can income get you opportunity? Or maybe can money buy happiness? Okay, let's say, okay, money can buy you good cars, but can money really afford a pollution-free environment? Anyway, you have to step out of that domain where you guys are living. Anybody would contradict, yes, we can get BMW, we'll get Audis, we'll get stuff like that if we have money. But do you think income, the people who have income, do not suffer from health consequences? Do not have any other trouble in their life? So, see, quality of life is very, very important. Does income parameter take into consideration the quality of life? Does it take into consideration the environmental sustainability? I don't think these two aspects are covered when I talk about economic development. A country might be doing really great in terms of its GDP, in terms of its economic power, but that should not be at the cost of any other person or the people who are not doing that good in their life. They should not be exploited. Their quality of life should be the same as any other citizen in the country. So whatever we've talked, to summarize it, I would say that economic development, under which we compare the income of different countries, should not be and is not the correct parameter to compare different countries, to compare the development process of different countries, because like every coin has two sides. Similarly, this economic development, though talks about income, though talks about the monetary aspect, but it somewhere overshadows the quality of life or maybe the environmental sustainability. How sustainable, how good is it for the environment? That's the cause of concern. Now, there are three important things that you have to take into consideration. There are three important reports that can be asked in a 1-mark question in CBSE class 10. Number 1 report is by Government of India. Guys, you might be aware that something is given in your book that, okay, there's an economic survey. I'm going to write it right here, economic survey. Again, economics means related to the money. The economic survey is done by Government of India, and this report is presented by Government of India every year in the Parliament along with your budget. So you have a record in which the government comes up with the figures of how and from where is it going to collect the money, how and where is it going to spend the money. along with it, like this is all about the future. Budget is all about the future, the upcoming year. But there is something known as economic survey. Survey basically means you report. And what you report is the health of the economy in previous or last 1 year. That report is known as economic survey of the country, that is presented by Government of India into the Parliament, so that people come to know how well they are going. What is the infant mortality rate, what is the maternal mortality rate, what is the sex ratio, how development is going, how GDP figures are growing. All that report is accumulated, all those facts are accumulated into this economic survey. Second important report that we guys are going to talk about is going to be about the United Nations Development Program, that comes up with a very important report that you guys have read about a lot. It's Human Development Index. I think this is a very, very, very important parameter or a scale on which you can rely and compare different countries, because we're going to continue talking about what is, see, it's not about the monetary aspect, but it's about taking care of humans development. And that human development index is known as HDI, that is developed by UNDP. We'll further study what is HDI. The last report is the report given by World Bank, also known as IBRD, that is International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. It comes up with a report that is known as World Development Indicators. So these are the three important reports given by different organizations that you might be asked in 1 mark questions. So we've pretty much covered all of them. Now let's proceed on that note. See, idea of development is different for different people. Even if I talk about development in India, I might be having a very different opinion and you guys might be having a very different opinion. Though we might be thinking on a very positive aspect, on a very positive note about India's development, but that might not be, we might not be on the same page. So, for example, if I talk about progress, like of ourselves, similarly, we can talk about the progress of the country. But like I said, the term progress and the term development might have different meanings to different people. Let's take the example of a landless laborer. So if I talk about a landless laborer, let's write it complete. So if I talk about landless laborer, okay, that was not lab, that was laborer, because short forms not accepted. So guys, try not to use your short forms in your exams also. We tend to make use of a lot of short forms because we are into all this because of those WhatsApps and things like that, but don't prefer doing that in your exam because your teacher is gonna get really irritated and I don't think you guys would really want to do that. So development, coming back to the topic, to a landless laborer might be that he wants more work days, more days for work. He might be asking for better wages. And what do you think might he be asking for his family? I guess is that he should not be discriminated. He can provide proper education to his kids. These are all maybe better living conditions for his family. These are the developmental aspects when I talk about, or the developmental goals when I talk about a landless laborer. But what about the developmental goals of a very, let's say, prosperous farmer? A farmer who's doing really great. What do you think? What he might be asking, who he might be looking. He might be looking for options that, okay, maybe my children someday go down, go abroad, study there, and do great in their life, because I don't want them. Now the thinking is also growing, it's changing, because I don't want them to stick here. They might be looking for better prospects in education, as for that matter. Then he might be looking for some sort of assured family income, because you guys know that farmers rely basically on monsoon, and the monsoon is not good. Of course the harvest gets affected to a great level. Also, they might be asking, this prosperous farmer might also be looking for a hard working and also a very cheap laborer. So here is the laborer that comes into picture. So this person again has a different set of developmental goal. So if in your question, if they ask 3 mark question, what is development? First you have to define development is a, I told you in the last class, is it a qualitative or is it a qualitative and quantitative goal? So just let me know in the comment box, what do you think is development? Just qualitative or qualitative and quantitative? We did add a lot of information with it. So you guys can probably give a very good introduction, and then you can talk that, development means, development goals means different to different people. They might not be same. Now, let's talk about a girl, like maybe a girl from a very rich urban family. And like every girl, she might also be looking, if I talk about girls, she might be looking for lot of freedom, like as much as her brother enjoys. She might be looking that she takes decision, whether she wants to study, whether she wants to get married, which subjects she wants to go in for, and also might be the case that she even wants to pursue her education abroad and does not wish to continue getting education here in the native country or the basic country she belongs to. So that means we've got 3 examples for a 3-mark question for you guys to attempt. First, we talked about landless laborer. Second case, we talked about a very prosperous farmer. And third case, we talked about girls. That means different people have different understanding of development. So thus, I guess we guys can conclude on this note that different persons can have, very important point, different developmental goals, point number 1. And second point will continue in this here page, the next page. What may be, I guess you guys can pretty much understand what may be development for one may not be development for the other. It even might be destructive for the other person. Let's take example. Let's say the government comes up with a project that they want to build a national highway. Maybe you can talk about they want to come up with a railway project, airport, or let's say they even want to talk about a multi-purpose project, MPP, multi-purpose project, or maybe a dam. Now when they're coming up with these projects, it's very good. Or maybe let's talk about bullet train, that is nowadays very common, bullet train. So whenever the government comes up with a project like this, it's very important to, rehabilitate the people living in that area whom you probably wish to dislocate. So a lot of people living in the area where they are actually putting up, they have their, work area also. They might be farming in that area, the same area where they live. So it's very important for the government to take wise decisions so that they can give them better employment options also, and also give them areas where they can again settle down with their family. Because if they get uprooted once, it takes time for you to adjust to a very different environment altogether. Sometimes you're living together, you get habitual to that environment, the people living around you. But once you relocate yourself, it becomes really difficult, and most of the time you're not paid compensation that's good enough for you to live up a very good life. So that means, even though coming up with projects like national highways, like roadways, like railways, airports, multi-purpose projects, dams, bullet trains, whatnot, they all might be considered very important as far as the country's development is concerned. But when I talk about destruction, this might be destruction for the other person, because a lot of people get rehabilitated, they might get displaced altogether. If not rehabilitated, for sure, they get displaced. That means they are not offered a second home for themselves. And if they're not offered, that means anyway they're living, they're having a very tough life. The marginalized farmer, or maybe a very poor farmer, who's not doing great in his life, and altogether if he's displaced with his family, do you think it's going to be easy for him to sustain or have a very good quality life for him as well as his family? Just give it a thought, guys. And if you want to continue watching the video so that we continue the chapter, please make a comment in the video in the drop box. So I'm going to come again with the next video. So till we meet next and talk about all the parameters that are left from this chapter, please take care, stay healthy, because it's very important that you go into details, because most of the questions that are theoretical are going to be asked that you need to give example to justify your answer. So that is why in-depth knowledge and a very good example would help you get good marks. So even though it's a very, very easy chapter, I know you won't get a lot of out of it, but still, if some statement is written and you need to justify the statement, it's important you give examples to support the same. And you can only give examples to support the same if you are very clear about what the statement wants to convey. So I'm going to see you in the next video. Till we meet next, please take care and stay healthy. Thank you, guys.